make that defeated sound at the beginning of the podcast so we'll know how this podcast is going to be. It's going to set the mood here. Fuck. This is real. What was that?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
All right, we ready here?
No. Whoa.
Stips and snaps. Idle thumbs. 177.
What, Chris?
I said, let's fucking go.
What?
Let's go.
Are you guys fucking psyched?
Hell yeah.
Chris?
I'm into it.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. It's September 24th, 2014.
This is Idle Thumbs 177. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I am Danielle Riendo.
Hey!
Yo!
This is such a low-key cast.
It is a little bit.
That's why I tried to force that enthusiasm in.
I see. Is this actually 177?
I think
I'm
so.
pretty sure it is.
I'm pretty sure. Because 176 was the classic alien form.
That's true.
I believe.
This is the first week in a while that it feels like this room hasn't just been packed full of podcast hosts.
Yeah. It's a little more relaxing.
It's leisurely.
Yeah.
You can just sort of take it all in.
Here in the curation room. This is our curation.
Oh, the curation room.
Oh, is it the curation room where curation happens, where the curation magic?
The creation comes to life.
I'm curious about your curation.
That just sounds like a growth or something on like a toe.
Where curation comes to life?
The curation?
The curation?
It's my curation. I put
Let's
a
curate.
salve on it.
Ooh. Yep.
Curated meats.
Curated meats.
Yeah. Actually, the Idle Thumbs Kickstarter, I think we backed some curated meats, which I don't think were ever delivered to us.
Right. Yeah. I think the Kickstarter failed.
Well, they would have been curated cured meats.
Yes, they were
Right.
curated. It was an artisanal
There's both
curated
going
cured
on there.
meats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I know you were saying that because you wanted to talk about Steam curation,
We don't have to.
but you just want to talk about curation enough that curation doesn't mean anything when the word curation is said enough that you can't really hear
That's
anything
been
about
happening
curating.
for the last 15 years on the internet.
That's
Well,
also
we're
what the internet
curators.
is.
Yeah, the concept of curators has been so, like, everyone's a curator, everyone's a tastemaker.
Right, okay, so
Like,
Steam put out their big old Steam... what's it called? It's in Valve style, so it's named something.
Oh, I didn't know it
it's,
was
it's
called
like the something. It's like the personalization update or something like that.
Discoverability
It's
update?
yeah,
Oh,
something
yes.
like that.
the engagement update.
Yeah.
But because, or as a part of that now, anyone who has a Steam group and recommends more than 10 games can become a Steam curator, which means if you subscribe to a curator, the things that they have chosen to curate, their recommendations show up in a little like scrolly list on your Steam homepage in the same area as like sales or stuff you it would show up, or favorited promotional whatever. Yeah, it's pretty sweet, I guess. They should have called it Steam Tastemakers.
That would have been much better.
You know,
It would have sounded like a coffee kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
the
like
Steam Tastemakers.
Steam influencers.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
There's probably you could probably draw a timeline that includes phrases like curators, tastemakers, and influencers that takes us through like Web 1.0 to Web 2.0 to like the cloud web or whatever the fuck we're in right now.
Oh, right, because curators, it's a little
classier.
Yeah, but like influencer is where it's at now.
Influencer, yeah, the social
Steam
media,
yes.
the
disruptors.
social web.
The disruptors.
That's the web we're in
Steam
now.
disruptors.
Steam-
I would just I don't know what that
Disrupt
is.
your curation.
Yeah,
I had a
we're not talking about anything about this. We're just obsessed with the word curator. Sorry,
It's
this
so
is like
crazy. So when I was a child, like my
wow.
Bruce Wayne being a child. When I was growing up, we had this sort of distant relative in our family who I never met because he was, like
a curator.
He was a curator. He was a few degrees like away from our immediate family, so I just never encountered him. But I always knew of him because he was like a point of pride in our family because he was the curator of like the White House.
Oh, cool.
So like the art in the White House, he curated and was like, as a result, the historian of that art. Like I remember this recently because I hadn't heard about him since I was a kid, and then he died in 2013, and the New York Times actually published an obituary of him, which was cool, which I'm looking at now.
He died because he saw George W. Bush's paintings. Sorry, that's really... Sorry, this is an actual friend of your family. Sorry.
Mr. Scouten, you must curate these.
No.
This guy is hardcore. He was a former Secret Service agent who then became a White House curator from Harry S. Truman to Bill Clinton.
Oh, wow.
Fucking
That's
awesome.
hardcore.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's pretty boss.
Yeah. Anyway, he's chief usher, and like I guess was his official title, and one of his roles was being the curator. And we had a like coffee table book in our house that was like the art of the White House, this like big heavy bound thing, and like he had signed it inside, and that was a thing.
He's related to you?
Yeah, he's related to us. That's why I said he was a distant family
Okay,
member.
right. Okay, so but you're not like his descendant.
No, this was
So
like
I shouldn't get my
a
hopes
lateral
up
family
A cousin,
For
thing.
your
a second
Steam-
cousin or something like that. Or,
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I shouldn't get my hopes up for your Steam curation list. Then it's not going to be like
Well, it's just
The
I
curation
only brought it
gene.
up
from the
because-
family that brought you the
White
White
House.
House Gallery curator Truman through Clinton comes Chris Ramos Steam picks.
That's exactly why I bring this up, is because I went, like, growing up, I knew that there was someone called a curator in our family before I knew what the word curator was. So the entirety of my conscious life, being aware of the concept of curation, it has been kind of an ennobled phrase, right? That brings along with it connotations of kind of really deep appreciation and a sense of history and like sort of a sense of duty because of the part connected to this like nonpartisan, like political service. And so that is like this constant keystone in my brain for what the concept of curation is. And then that just sort of slams into like the infinite brick wall.
You got a
of the
Tumblr,
internet.
you're a curator.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's just a thing that always kind of collides in my brain every time I see a new internet concept, like pushing the idea of sort of disposable curation.
Right.
I don't know
There are
why
levels
I'm
of curation.
saying this. It just is a thing I think about whenever I see this word used
Yes.
in like increasingly kind of just ephemeral ways. I guess.
Yeah, I'm of about a million minds about this whole Steam Discovery update, the Steam curation thing. And like on one hand, like we've linked the Idle Thumbs Steam group off our homepage basically forever, and there is now an Idle Thumbs Steam curator thing. Please subscribe to it. Please check it out.
Why not? That's another funny thing about all of these. I'm always so ambivalent about all this stuff, but then of course the whole point of it is that it's designed to be so easy that why wouldn't you just do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Like why wouldn't you put together the Idle Thumbs curation group? So
Right.
it did. Why
Whereas
not?
like it's got some picks from previous GODZ.cx's, which is the Idle Thumbs occasional game of the year. It's got some stuff that we
so
just...
like Miasmata's in there.
Yeah, Miasmata's in there. Obviously Far Cry 2's on there.
Spelunky's in there.
And then it's just got a
great games.
couple other things
Yeah.
that we've talked about recently, like Gods Will Be Watching's on there. And then I think our plan is to just, if we talk about a game on our episode that we feel we'd want to actually recommend that you'd buy, like if you give it like a buy it rating instead of a rent it rating, and it's on Steam, we'll put it up there because why the hell not? It seems cool. Also, Steve Gaynor has a curation thing, and we're trying to get more. Like
We're trying to get more.
more
Don't
people.
Don't follow him,
follow Steve's.
us.
Follow ours.
Naturally.
But on the other hand, I mean, there's then the sort of realism versus idealism of what Steam, in quotes, like what Steam is for and like what Steam is for me. Because like Steam is now entirely just given up on the idea that its customers are ever going to try and find anything ever under any circumstances without it just being on the front page, which is probably what the data bears out. But like new releases unfiltered, no longer on the page. Random things you might like buried 2 pages deep, like
even more than one page of top sellers, you have to go to a separate page to see.
Yes.
Which is a bummer because I actually really like just kind of idly scrolling through the list of new releases and new top sellers. That was actually the 2 Steam things I used more than any other thing to browse was just like scrolling
but now
through
it's
those.
notable new releases, which is like a cross blend of top sellers and new releases in the same column. And then the other big thing now is curators. And anyone can be a curator, but it also just like it feels like discoverability and variety. I mean, it's classic Valve, which is also weirdly classic Google, which is just why do it
algorithms
when a
do
robot can do it,
exactly.
you know? But then now this is the other sort of funky thing about all of this is that the algorithm that's doing this is basically like anyone can be a curator, but if you go to the page, it's like find people to follow as curators. It just sorts by how many people are following them.
So like Total Biscuit is just number one.
It's like
forever.
Total Biscuit, PC Gamer. Yeah, Total Biscuit just wins forever and will always win forever, which is like, unless they secretly have like that there's going to be a reset or they're going to shuffle in other metrics, but it feels like the same thing that everyone always complains about with the iOS App Store, which is once you're at the top of the charts, you're at the top of the charts because the only thing that people look at is what's the top of the chart.
Yeah.
So like, this thing is built in the name of discoverability, but it's like it's instead self-filtering it down to the same one list of games, which is like,
yeah.
I had that experience I've always known that about the App Store, but I had to really just, it really came to the forefront of my awareness of the App Store the other day when I finally deleted Desert Golfing, which I need to talk about this week.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I don't really like look for games for my phone ever. Like sometimes one will bubble up through the conversation on Twitter or whatever, like Swing Copters or Drop 7 or Desert Golfing, you know, a few others. But I never just go on there. And I went on there and tried to find a new game to play, and it is impossible.
Yeah. It
is impossible. On 3 different occasions I went and tried to just like, how do I even start to look? Because everything that I saw, everything that was surfaced through either Apple's own lists or through top grossing or whatever, just looked unappealing. It just looked unappealing. You know, they either had names that were just these totally bland, like 8-word buzzword fests, right? Like there's this popular thing called Game of War Fire Age that it just sounds like they just reached into a grab bag and pulled out, you know, everything of every top-selling game for the last decade.
War of Duty, Candy Crush. Like,
it really is that. And then other things were just these really unappealing-looking, kind of generically good graphic 3D games. I'm like, I don't want to play this on my phone. They just a bunch of bland-looking 3D games that are probably control badly. And or it was just the really exaggerated sprite kind of thing with a little tag that says in-app purchases, and I'm just like,
you mean like a Clash of Clans style thing?
I don't know. I guess there's like a lot of gem themed things, and I'm like, I like Bejeweled, but like I'm not gonna just randomly pick one of like 17 different seemingly identical Jewel games. You know, like it's crazy. There's no metric, there's no basis.
What you need are some tastemakers.
Yeah, apparently I need some fucking tastemakers.
Apple curators.
Because the other half of what Steam did, in addition to the curation, the sort of manual curation stuff is, and I assume that they're using curation data to like further refine these recommendations, but they're also just making the entire front page of Steam far more geared towards individual.
It's trying to be like Amazon's homepage or something, I imagine, where it's like, here's the kind of things you like, here's the kind of things your friends like, here's what your curators follow.
Yeah, and
I imagine
if you just keep scrolling past, it'll just keep populating it with more.
Yeah, all this stuff seems cool, but I wish how it worked.
It just makes it feel even more like a black box that is just confusing to me. I mean, I think it's probably better on balance because Steam was getting to the point where, you know, like the App Store, it's just this never-ending deluge of games, which didn't used to be because there just weren't as many, you know, there just weren't by volume as many games coming out all the time, and now there are, and now there's also just like 3D software and all this other stuff that goes up on Steam.
Yep.
So just it was getting unmanageable. So I guess this is better.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine as far as the curation stuff goes, people have figured out how it works better than I have. But my initial assumption, which was obviously entirely wrong, was that it was effectively just like a recommendation Twitter feed, where like when you add a game, when a curator adds a game, it would show up as like, this is a thing your curator has recommended. But that's not how it works, because it seems to be recent, like how recently a curator that you follow recommended it crossed with how many other lists it appears on that you follow.
Okay.
So like I've seen a game show up in the list, and then it just has 3 different icons of 3 different people that I follow. So it seems like that is then trying to encourage you to follow more people. I mean, it seems like if you can actually pick 5 people whose lists you look at and have interesting things on them, you'll probably actually get interesting things out of them. But if you literally just follow the top 5 on the thing, if you follow Total Biscuit, Kotaku, PC Gamer, whatever else is there, I imagine at a certain point that stuff's just going to homogenize because it's going to be new big releases. And I'm sure that to his credit, the Total Biscuit one will have weird Steam finds that he does daily videos about, but I think even that will just get buried quickly unless you really self-select towards weird stuff.
Right, because the crossover, like, I'm sure all of those lists, I'm sure PC Gamer's list has crazy stuff on it too, but like the ones they will all share in common are the big ones.
Yeah.
And then the ones around the margins will be different from list to list.
Yeah, it seems like you have to go out of your way to find weird Steam curators, but that's not what they're promoting. They're not, so like, but who knows? Maybe it does some crazy magic, weird math inside of it that we can't figure out, but like, right now it's just telling me to buy Gauntlet all the time.
Well, a thing that I remember hearing, I think it was Gabe Newell talking one time about how Valve thinks about algorithms and stuff, and he definitely seemed to me to be of the mind that Valve doesn't necessarily care about promoting small weird things. They care about promoting small weird things if the data they gather from data they gather from their user base suggests that's what they should be promoting, but they don't necessarily inherently care about that.
Right.
As like they're not out to like skew the data such that it benefits those games.
Right.
Which I don't know how I feel about that. I guess it makes sense. I mean, it's not like exciting to me, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like you could use the curation system deliberately as a person. If you yourself curate your curation list, you could probably get it to give you
something
intros
useful
to interesting games.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I suspect that for a lot of people who think that's what they want, the secret Steam fucking taste robot is like, I know what you actually want. What you actually want is whatever, fucking Gauntlet. Like, that's what, you know.
Gauntlet's been all over that thing. I see Gauntlet every single time I load up Steam.
I mean, do you think they're secretly tweaking things? You know,
No.
if
I don't
there's
think
time
so.
to do
I
that?
don't think they are. No.
Okay. I'm just curious.
I mean,
There's probably still paid promotions and stuff.
Sure.
Because it's a store.
yeah.
How could they not do that?
Right.
Yeah.
That was the other thing that immediately came up as an issue with the Steam curation stuff, which was, Jesus Christ, if you're at the top of the curators list and you're just the guy that everyone sees,
Right.
whether you're a Total Biscuit or one of the other top 10.
He already has 150,000 followers
Yeah.
on that thing in a day.
It's gotta be tempting as fuck to be like, well, I can obviously juke your stats on Steam by just putting your game at the top of my reference list,
Yeah.
of my curator list. And that means it's going to bubble up for a lot of people. Total Biscuit immediately, like one of the first things he did was recommend a game that he had a sponsorship deal with.
Right. I was gonna
People
bring that
noticed
up.
it, and then he was like, and then he put a thing up saying, I will not actually ever do this. I didn't really think about it this way. It's a gray area, new
totally.
thing, whatever. Kind of a dodge answer, kind of a genuine answer, but the end result was, in the case of that specific guy at this specific time, he's not going to put any sponsored anything inside of that feed. But like,
But what's stopping any other YouTube celebrity? Yeah, basically.
Yeah, there's already multiple YouTube celebrities up on the top 10 list. I noticed.
Yeah, there was an article on Kotaku about it, and they asked Valve about it, and Valve's response was just like, well, I mean, we don't know. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We're going to watch things very carefully to make sure that things like that aren't happening.
Of course.
But there's no official rule. We just hope people will use their best judgment or something. It was just some like classic.
Yeah.
The market will decide.
Yeah, classic, just whatever. But like,
Non-answer.
People don't like that. Maybe they can just unsubscribe from that
from that curator that you didn't remember that you subscribed to, but is subconsciously affecting your entire storefront metrics for money. Like, it makes me wish that they had just gone all out with the thing that Gabe Newell was talking about like a year ago, which was just not like if the curation lists had gone one tiny step further and had just basically become storefronts. Like, don't even call it a curation list. Just call it a storefront. Yep. Make it a thing that doesn't have to be hosted on SteamPowered.com. Let you just drop it in an embed.
But it goes through their payment merchant and everything.
Yeah, like, I imagine that could be a place that they're going now, but this whole launch made me wonder if maybe they considered that and then said, no, fuck it. This is actually the smart move. Because this whole thing does feel like it's...
Or just the easier move.
It's the easier move, but it also feels like it is actually engineered 100% around the fact that like, they're calling this curators, and everyone makes fun of that, and then everyone also laments the fact that YouTubers are at the top of the list. But as far as, like, people who are doing games coverage whose entire job is to be a curator or a tastemaker for their audience, it is YouTubers.
Oh, yeah.
And Valve is entirely optimizing towards YouTubers with this thing, where it's like, link to a thing. Maybe it's a review or a YouTube video where you talk about the game. Like, that's in the description for the associated link. Like, this thing is built for Total Biscuit to convert people straight onto Steam. Like, it's what it's for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe they actually decided this is the smarter play than letting people, like, you can't open up a Steam store on YouTube, but YouTube is where all the eyeballs are, so maybe this is their play.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Makes a certain kind of sense.
Anyway, I don't know.
If only Nick Breckon were here to...
Oh, man.
He could tell us.
He wouldn't tell us, but he would go, like, I don't even know. He'd be fucking freaking out. Nick would be off. Like, he would have found a chalkboard that he could have flipped around and started drawing shit up. This explains everything. Like, he would know. But where's Nick when we need him? He's in Hawaii, like, riding around on a sea turtle or something.
Oh, perfect. With, like, a drink in his hand.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Perfect.
Confirmed.
He's probably doing that. Nick is probably... Oh, yeah. When people are listening to this, Nick is... If he does what he says he's going to be doing, he is going to be kayaking to the place in Kauai where they filmed the scene where Indiana Jones jumps into a biplane and there's a snake in the plane. But hopefully he's doing that with a big fat, like, pineapple juice Mai Tai in one hand and one foot out the side of his boat.
It with, like, a Manhattan glass.
Yeah, that's also fine.
Make it a little classier, you know.
Yeah.
Class up your kayak experience.
Yeah, that's what I hope. But... hopefully then he also has an earbud in and is listening to this podcast and is freaking out about conspiracies.
He'll flip his kayak.
Metaphorically and literally.
He would.
He
Nick
really
Breckon, He would get so... What?
No.
I knew it! It makes so much sense! And then in his, like, fervor, he'll flip the kayak over and then complain about why every bad thing happens to him.
That's perfect. There's some secret equations on the underside.
Also, you should follow Nick's Steam curation list.
Yes.
Should we talk about our other secondary curation list?
Oh, yeah. That's because, so the Idle Thumbs curation list contains many games, but one...
We're planning on updating it as we talk about stuff on the podcast.
Yeah. But if you're looking for certain games, one specific game, it comes from a universe very similar to our own. You might want to look for the Dishonored Idle Thumbs curation list. Which has Dishonored on it.
Is that the only game that's on the list?
There's other Dishonored video games, maybe.
There's
games that are in the Dishonored universe.
Yeah, games that take place in the Dishonored universe are featured the Dishonored Idle Thumbs curation list.
The Dunwall only list.
Yeah.
Lovely.
It's a
More or less. I see.
The Dishonored universe.
I see.
Yeah.
I see how it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I sort of just exploded my brain out into this microphone about Steam curation. I don't know what else there is to talk about it. Unless you guys have Steam curation stuff you want to Andy Rooney about.
Andy Rooney.
No, I feel like that was good.
It's pretty good. I don't really have super strong opinions on it yet, so.
Well, that's also the
I'm
thing
sure
about
I
all of
will
this.
eventually.
I just said all of that stuff, but it's also it's like this thing has existed for next to no time.
For like a day, yeah.
Who knows what it will actually be? It's just as a crazy new concept to inject in the middle of Steam, which is Steam has sort of been evolving slowly over time, but it's still generally kept the same basic paradigms. They've swapped some stuff in and out, but now it feels like it just went from like this is the content
now
hose
it's aware
to just like it's alive.
Yeah.
It is Skynet.
And just the potential implications of that in all the different directions are really interesting, and obviously there's nothing to do other than to sort of bellyache about it or postulate about it on a podcast and wait. And at the end of the day, it will probably not be super relevant to anything. because everyone's going to switch to GOG Galaxy.
Maybe.
They could.
God, that reminds me. I wonder if the website GamersGate, which is another
good Lord.
online game download store, I wonder if they...
That is a real thing.
We have curation, too!
I wonder if they perceived any, change in traffic patterns over the last month because of GamerGate.
Sure.
Oh,
They would have had to.
Yeah, right?
I'm sure.
What is this GamersGate bullshit? I heard this is full of idiots being shitty.
The poor guy with the storefront is just like, we sell games.
Sell games, but then maybe they're like, wait, we sell games for gamers. We sell games for gamers. GamersGate.
Double down.
Come here for
GamersGate,
video games only.
Games. That's it. Wow.
True Games. That's just one of their categories.
That website is just now just fucking arrays of guns and shitty bikini girls with trucks holding video game boxes, just rotating skulls everywhere. Just fireworks stand is also somehow associated with
They're
this.
all connected by red MS Paint lines.
Yeah.
This game, and then this game, and then circle that one.
Oh man,
That's how
that's
it
not
works.
the angle that I was going with, but I like that as well.
That's just how it works.
It's navigation.
They didn't remove any of their existing inventory. It's just that if you go to the page that sells Gone Home or whatever, it's just red lines connecting everything and circles drawn around it to make sure that you're fully aware of what you're about to purchase. It wants to make sure that you follow the money before you spend your money.
Exactly. It's a true gamer service.
Yeah.
I thought you meant that they were just going to be cheeky about it, where it's like, these prices are so low, it must be a conspiracy. The Gamergate sale.
Oh my god. I mean, if they were smart.
Follow the money right back into your wallet.
Up to 20% off these new hits.
Oh, wow.
Well, good.
Yep, that would be a good sale.
Good.
Speaking
God,
of...
crazy. Sorry, just... It's not about women. It's about low prices.
I heard you played a game that people keep asking you to play, Danielle.
Yeah, I did. I played a lot of it.
Sonic the
I was
Hedgehog
gonna
3.
give you a segue. There was totally a segue.
Oh, from
But
what?
I can
For
I can
Well,
do
it
a
now.
different one. So
Pretend-
I played 3 games actually, three games of note of interest.
Wait, what's the connective tissue?
The connective tissue was going to be the low prices, and I was going to say I played a game for the low price of free, and it was Donkey Kong Doom. It was
What?
really
Oh
awesome.
man, Donkey Kong Doom!
It was really great.
Oh man, do you not know about Donkey Kong
No.
Doom? Donkey Kong Doom!
Okay, this is a Doom mod that uses all of the old sprites from the Donkey Kong Country games. All 3 of the games. All 3
It's
of them.
incredible.
It's really good. The controls could use some work.
It looks like it plays like
But-
a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it also...
It's a work in progress. Go on. Yeah.
I was so excited because I saw your article about it on Polygon.
Yeah.
Why am I describing it for you? I'm so excited
You were
about
excited.
it. I'm excited on this
I wanted
episode,
to let you be
I guess.
excited. No, it's good. It's a really good
like
thing.
you said, it uses all the Donkey Kong sprites, and it's, I guess, doing sprite animations at really high frame rates, so it looks nice
Yeah,
and
it's
like
pretty
that.
smooth.
But all of the levels are side-scrolling, but they're made out of Doom geometries.
They're
There's
side-scrolling?
It's Donkey Kong. It plays like Donkey Kong Country
Oh,
for
I
the
thought
Super
it played
Nintendo.
like Doom, but with
No.
Donkey Kong.
No, it's built in the Doom engine. Someone basically made a
Yep.
total. It's a total conversion of Doom.
It really is.
That plays like Donkey Kong Country because it uses the SNES sprites. But then, as the camera pans, like in a 2D game, there's actual like 3D stuff, like fucking Beautiful Joe or something like that.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it like way back in like 2009 when I started playing with Unity, I started making 2D games using weird, insane things like that, where like a sprite would basically be like a polygon that had 8 sides, and it would flip to whatever side for like whatever frame of the walk animation was. I don't know how this person did it, but it reminded me of that, of like, you know, just using weird tricks that make no sense to make something that was never meant to be made in this engine. But it's really fun, and the part that's so exciting. So I'm like a huge fan of the Donkey Kong Country games. Like when I was young, I was 10 to 12 when they came out, so I was kind of like the perfect age to be like a young child
You
playing
remember the
these
exact
games.
ESRB bracket for Donkey Kong
I
Country?
really was. And like I remember, I just have very fond memories of my childhood, like playing
God,
these
I'm
games,
watching
playing
a
them
video
for
of this.
years.
This is so weird. I'm sorry, continue.
No,
It's
yeah,
so
it's
good
cool.
though, right?
It's really
so
good.
that it's a Doom mod.
Yeah.
It's a Doom mod.
With like the gross wipe down screen.
I know.
Everything.
The level notes have the blood wipe. Oh, but it's
Sorry.
Donkey Kong.
Continue,
It's so
Danielle,
good.
sorry.
It's really, really good. And like, so there's 10 levels in it.
Wait,
and there
sorry,
are
so you were
boss
saying
fights
when
and everything.
you were like 10 or 11, you were really into Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, it was really I just have a lot of very, very happy memories. You know, I still will listen to those soundtracks sometimes while I'm writing or something. Like they're really, I think they're very good games that time has not remembered entirely fondly. I thought they had really good level design. I've gone back to the games and been like, no, this isn't Mario.
I remember
But it's still
sound effect
fun.
when you jump on a guy and it goes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. They're like, it's goofy and fun, but it also had this like really pretty aesthetic that wasn't just because it was pre-rendered graphics. It also had just, I don't know, there was like a nice feeling of like it might have had to do with the fact that Rare was in the middle of like nowhere in the woods, but there was this sort of like
There's like good colors. It
appreciation
felt-
for nature
yeah.
or something, you know. And the music is wonderful and the level design was really fun. So this person, and I don't remember their name, so I apologize. But this person, it's like Hero Doom or something. They just basically made a new Donkey Kong Country game. There's 10 levels, and they all mix
so it
sprites
doesn't
from the different
recreate
games.
levels from the existing ones.
It's all new, so which is great and exciting, which means, you know, it's like a new Donkey Kong Country experience as you play it.
In
And
the
it's
Doom engine.
in the Doom engine, right. It took me a while to actually figure out sort of how to configure the controls because, you know, going forward and going backward are not going forward and going backward in 2D space. So I was like, what the hell is going on? And then
Right,
I like thought about it and I was like, oh, this is in the Doom engine, right. I need to, you know, map things accordingly. And I think once I figured out that it was like strafe
Right.
left and strafe right, then I got it working. It's just really fun. The controls kind of suck, which is kind of the only, you know, issue.
It's got to be
with
pretty
it.
hard to have well-tuned Donkey Kong
Yeah.
Country platforming
Yeah,
I'm
controls.
watching this and it just looks bonkers. I can't figure out why it exists.
Yeah, it's kind of
Why
great.
make
Do you know,
This
as the guy stated, why he made this?
Why make this in Doom?
I honestly don't know. He just put it up on the GZ Doom forums and was just like, here it is.
This is the kind of thing that reminds me of what hobbyist development was like before the internet was just totally ubiquitous, because you just used whatever you had. Like,
Right, like,
it's
why- at this point-
JP Leberton got started in game development, so to speak, like when he was much, much, much younger, by making stuff in the Doom engine. Also, like
That's awesome,
That was
yeah.
his. Look, he was, you know, like in high school or whatever, like pre, you know, before. I mean, the internet was around, but it was before just everyone was on the web all the time.
Totally.
And he was on like BBSs, I think, and stuff. And it was just because it's what he had around and like what he knew and sort of a game that he was excited about. And so, whereas this, it's such an anachronism to see, because this
It's almost
feels
like an academic exercise.
yeah,
really
this
is,
feels
yeah.
like the kind of thing you make when you're like 12 or 13 and you just have a copy of Doom
Right,
because
but
your
this is-
uncle gave it to you or whatever.
Right,
And you're
executed
like,
at a level-
but I love Donkey Kong.
The complexity involved in making this
I
is
know.
huge, though.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. And,
And-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's
Jake.
just like, at this point, why would you not use Unity or Game Maker
Right.
or a million things? And the
it's-
answer
the
is
answer's-
because you can make it in Doom. Like, that's it, right?
Yeah, and it's probably the same answer. It's probably the complexity is high, but that's probably because this person did start. I bet, I don't know anything about it. I would wager there's a decent likelihood that this person actually started making stuff in the Doom engine in the circumstances I'm talking about.
Sure.
And at this point, it's just been like 10 or 15 years or whatever, and they just never had any particular reason to use something else
I would believe that.
ever.
I
So
suspect-
now they
Yeah.
are able to do these crazily ambitious things
In the
just
Doom.
because they can.
This aspect of the Doom scene is probably also very similar to the adventure game studio scene.
Yeah,
like,
I was thinking
there are
that as
people
well.
who came up using AGS forever to make just like LucasArts and Sierra games, but then like Dave Gilbert of Wadjet Eye Games made that game Puzzle Bots that is like
Oh, yeah.
you're controlling little robots that have different powers to solve puzzles, and it's not an entirely lock and key game, but it was made in AGS. Or like the most goddamn extreme version of that is Kart Life was
Yeah.
made in AGS.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and like that. I don't think that Richard Hoffmeyer was a big AGS guy. I think that's just the engine that
Just
let him
like what he
build that thing
landed on.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that seems like that is just an example of, oh, this is the tool that I have. It seems like it'll kind of do what I want.
Yep.
I can get enough inroads into it that I can
It's the
start
same reason.
seeing
I
what
can
I want.
figure it out,
Like Tom Francis, who made Gunpoint, that game was hugely successful. He now has the resources to like working whatever he wants. He's been doing some Unity stuff, but he frequently talks about how he just feels so much more comfortable in Game Maker
that's right.
because it's just what he does. He had this whole experience of learning how to make a game from scratch, knowing nothing about making games. He started from scratch in Game Maker. So, of course, after going through that like trial by fire, that's just what he knows. It's the same also with Vlambeer. They make everything in Game Maker, as far as I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
At least they start with it, and then sometimes they'll collaborate with someone else who then...
Because they've done like Flash stuff as well a little bit.
Oh, really?
Ridiculous Fishing and Loop Browsers both started off as Flash, didn't they? Or they're playing browser.
Oh,
or not Ridiculous Fishing, but the one that had a different name. Something else fishing.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like Awesome Fishing or something? I can't remember what it's called,
Yeah.
But I think generally when that happens, it was through co-development with someone else. I could be wrong about that. But I think all the stuff that they start with or do themselves, they do in Game Maker. I could be wrong. I remember seeing a thing, though, from Rami Ismail, who's one of the two Vlambeer guys, saying, like, we're just really comfortable in Game Maker at this point. So it's just what we know and we do.
It's a fun game. You should seriously think about it if you're interested.
Did you beat
Donkey Kong Doom.
No, I haven't beat it yet. I'm only like 4 levels in-ish. I mean, like I said, the controls are pretty rough, but it's just fun as like an experience to play like an old SNES Donkey Kong game again.
Yeah.
But a really weird one.
Really weird one. And also what's crazy about it, as somebody who has like every sprite from those games like in their brain, the mix from like, this is from 3, and this is from the ice levels in 2, and this is from the snow levels in 3, and this one's from... Like, I'm actually doing that as I'm playing the game, and it's kind of like,
Right, yeah.
I go back to my 10-year-old self, like, knowing where every single asset is from and everything.
I watched the video on the Polygon. When you complete a level, does it just go to the map of hell?
It doesn't.
Does it have its
there's
own
like
map?
A frame or two of the, like, blood.
It does the melt. Okay,
thing.
I thought that it cut to the Mars base when you're going from one level to the next. It probably doesn't, but it probably should.
I don't think so. It's a map from one of the games. It's like one of the overworld maps, but it's rearranged.
Oh, it's from actual Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's from one of those games. Although there are Doom elements. If you watch through the entire video, there's like, God, what is his name? The like spherical monster thing.
Cacodemon?
Oh, no,
I thought a Cacodemon was the eyeball.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The red sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is what it is. It's been a while since I actually played Doom. But like little things from Doom do show up a little, like here and there, but 99% of it is just all Donkey Kong.
So the game isn't secretly about how the world starts sort of rending itself in two, and Donkey Kong ends up opening a portal to hell, and then he's fucking fighting cacodemons.
I mean, I don't want to like spoil anything.
That'd be really good. That would be the true Donkulous Rift, in fact.
Donkulous Rift. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that could be real.
That's going to be Donkey Kong Doom 2, Hell on Earth.
I really want to see
They've opened the Donkulous Rift. Donkey Kong, you must enter the Donkulous Rift. You must close the Donkulous Rift forever.
It's just
He's got to close it from the inside, though. Fucking poignant.
Oh, no. He waves. A single tear rolls down his furry
Diddy Kong's
cheek.
on the other side.
Diddy Kong is on the other side. No, they do the little Star Trek 2, like, the hand thing.
But then when the rift closes, Diddy Kong sees that he's been slipped Donkey Kong's tie.
Oh my god, I'm actually getting a little emotional thinking about this.
A true Donkey Kong Country fan.
True fan, right here. True fan.
Yeah, then Cranky Kong probably shows up and fucking farts or something.
Yeah,
and ruins
most
it.
likely. Or one of those shitty Kongs. There's so many shitty Kongs.
So the Donkey Kong Country family is like the Sonic the Hedgehog family at this point, where it's just a bunch of fucking Kongs.
Although in the most recent one, the one that came out this year, which was really good, by the way, Tropical Freeze, the Wii U, the Retro Studios, those games are actually really good. They're hard and they're good. They're well designed. It was only good characters in that one, so I was pretty happy. Like Cranky's in it, but he has like a pogo stick move, like the DuckTales Scrooge dude. And Dixie Kong was in it, and she has the awesome hair thing. So, cool.
Donkey Kong Doom.
Donkey Kong.
I like that you said good characters only, which is the kind of thing that like a kid says when they have just fully internalized
I go back
their
to the
own
90s.
like opinions on this, and it would never occur to them that anyone else might have a different opinion of like what the good characters are. This game's the best because only the good characters are in it. Except like a little kid with a Rhode Island accent saying that.
So this one's really good because only the good characters are in it. There's none of those shitty Kongs.
Wow, salty language for 10-year-old Danielle.
I was like that when I was 10. Not gonna lie, 10 to 12. There's a little span there. Anyway, that was really fun.
I'm just gonna like sneak out here and ask: did either of you guys get a chance to play Smash Brothers 3DS?
Yes, that's my third game. Yes.
We're jumping to that then because
Okay, let's jump.
I didn't get to play it, but which makes me mad. But
Wait, what do you need to get to? Oh, at PAX?
no, there were beta keys going around, and I was given one, and then I gave it to someone else because I figured I'd never get a chance to play it, and then I just started kicking myself forever.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's very noble.
Well,
Yeah. You did a nice thing for whoever you gave it to. I don't know, it's fun. Like, it's Smash Brothers on 3DS. I think it's actually only called Super Smash Brothers.
both versions are just called Super Smash Brothers now.
That's right. There are a lot of characters. There's a lot of new arenas. There's a lot of stuff.
There's no notable thing though that makes it different from main Smash Brothers. Really, it's just Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I heard it had a campaign mode in it or something.
There is. I mean,
but the campaign mode was in. It
was in Melee too.
It was in Melee.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Which I actually really like that stuff because I just sort of like messing around with goofy sort of Nintendo remix.
Yeah.
You know, every franchise is kind of just thrown in a blender and you can kind of have fun with it. I've played like, a few matches in the campaign, sort of the mini games and everything, and a few of the like main, you're fighting other people and this is what's going on. And then you start getting challengers, it's the secret characters come in, you have to fight them. It's almost like a little mini boss character.
Yeah, it's just
it's Smash.
I have not been following it at all, and I didn't know if there was anything about it that was different or if it's just Smash Brothers.
It's pretty much just but it's a really good and polished. It's kind of like Mario Kart 8. Like, it's just Mario Kart, but it's polished and a lot of fun, and you'll probably have fun with it if you.
If this was like original DS era, I would be losing my fucking shit over a Smash Brothers game on that because I played a lot of DS multiplayer then. I just don't. I just don't anymore. I kind of
sure.
I have some friends who have DSs, but I don't really like socialize in an environment where I play on a DS in that way. Like I usually just if I ever play it, I play it like before going to bed.
Yeah, totally. Which is what I've been doing with Smash, which is pretty dumb,
I can't see myself doing that with Smash Brothers for that, but
it's not very relaxing.
I'm holding out for the Wii U version, I guess.
I mean, that'll be pretty awesome too, I think. I'm having a lot of fun with it though. Like, even though I'm playing it at probably not the right time to be playing it, when I'm in bed and just sort of, I've been a little sick lately, so I've just been kind of like, yeah, all right. Kind of vegging out and playing Smash a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Smash, but it's really, really fun. It's still really compelling. I used that word, sorry. That's like a forbidden word at Polygon.
It's compelling. Experience.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
How dare you.
It compels you?
It compels me. I also played Sunless Sea.
Let's take a break.
Okay. Let's take a break.
Break.
I mean, take a break when we come back.
I said break.
Oh, I said break.
Break.
Here we are on the break.
Video game.
This episode is brought to you by Nestle. We're horrible. Everything we do is horrible, but somehow we're huge and worth all of the money on earth. Anyway, water isn't a human right. Thank you. Nestle.com/thumbs for 10% off water.
Oh, that's what it is. DooMero, not Doom Hero. Sorry.
What is that water? It's like,
dude, the fucking CEO of Nestle is like, why is water a human right?
What?
Why isn't that the thing that Nestle can just fucking own and sell to Africans?
Oh my fucking god. Wow.
It's not literally what he said, but it basically is.
Basically, yeah. God, that's fucked.
Yeah, no, that's real. Nestle is the exact company you'd expect that to be the fucking thing out of, though, too. Where they're like, we'll sell you coffee and weird cocoa chocolate stuff and dietary weird cocoa chocolate stuff and AIDS medication. And unfortunately, all of those things require water, which we can't sell you because it's regulated by the government. But we'd much rather just be able to package it up for you. Think about how much easier it would be.
Nestle. Not evil. Even slightly.
Anyway, we probably also make soap.
I bet they do.
I'm sure they do.
through something.
Yeah.
Suave or something is probably a Nestle brand.
Probably also make Suave. We make this weird powder
Rico
for starving
Suave.
people in third world countries, and we make Suave men's body wash, an essential product for humans.
All the things you need.
Were we
Nestle.
actually sponsored by
Video game.
Thanks to NatureBox for sponsoring this episode of Idle Thumbs. NatureBox is a delicious snack subscription service where they'll send you all sorts of just good-to-eat snacks to your house, I think monthly?
Monthly.
If you're interested in NatureBox, you can actually get a free sample box where you can pick out, I think, one of the snacks on their humongous list of snacks, plus they'll send you some small-size samples of other things for free. If you go to naturebox.com...
Minor shipping charge, but it's like $2.
Yeah, naturebox.com/thumbs. Get a sample box of a bunch of snacks, including like one full-size snack of your choice for just $2 shipping.
You could get those pineapple slices.
Eat them.
You eat them. You love them.
Pea wasabis.
Wasabi piece?
Wasabis.
Wasabi peas, whatever. They've sent us a bunch of boxes of snacks. They're really good. We can't stop eating them.
Naturebox.com/thumbs.
Yep. Also, thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode.
Thanks, Squarespace.
Oh, thanks, Chris, for thanking Squarespace.
Anytime.
Squarespace is the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, and online store.
And we have another Idle Thumbs reader who has created a Squarespace website using the offer code
Thumbs
at
checkout. Yes.
Okay. This is RyanCConnelly.com. That's Connelly, Connelly. Ryan is a tenor. He is a graduate of the Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. And on this excellent Squarespace site, you can see everywhere he is performing around the country in the 2014 to 15 season. I thought that was a cool thing that was like a little off the beaten path for what
that's
most
awesome.
Thumbs
Yeah, it's
readers
cool.
have done on Squarespace. Yeah, so this is pretty cool.
Yeah, Squarespace is a great service. Their templates all look really good. It is fast as fuck to make a website that just looks professional. It works well on mobile.
Yep.
They've got support for stores, blogs, portfolios. Like you could put there's encoders for dropping media in.
This guy has like samples from productions he's been in.
It's really good. So for a free trial and 10% off, visit squarespace.com, enter the offer code thumbs. Your trial also does not require a credit card, so you can just get going and make a thing before you have to enter any real like financial information. It's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks Squarespace.
All right, thanks, Squarespace.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Squarespace chain smokes. Got your blogs.
I got your back.
Oh, it's got your back?
And your blogs.
blog. Your
Your blogs, your store,
media embedding.
your media encoder. What you need your media for?
You're just starting to sound like the sad version of Marty McFly's mom. On the 42nd floor.
Gotta go up the stairs.
In Back to the Future 2.
It's pretty sad. It's a little sad.
Back to the Future is one of those things where I just have to kind of pretend like I've seen it most of the time. Because it's not worth, you know what I mean? Like if someone makes a Back to the Future joke.
You're like,
it's
good
not,
one.
Yeah. Like,
Mayor.
it's just not. Jake says mayor from Back to the Future. Like,
I have not said that in years.
yeah, but you used to say it like daily.
It's because I used to work in an office with Doug, and we always said it first. It was not justified. It doesn't justify
But yeah,
anything.
it's one of those references where it's much easier for me most of the time to just be like, yeah. Because if I don't get it. Like, then I'm just an asshole.
If you're like, or if you're just, I haven't seen that movie.
Right. Like, I'll say that on the podcast.
Shut it down.
Because I'll say it now, because then I can turn it into a dumb thing where I can laugh at myself about it. But
And
like,
or you can enrage people.
yeah, right. But like, in an actual moment where I'm just having a conversation with someone, you can't say that. So I just pretend that I know what they mean. And
You'd
why
probably
would I
like it. It's worth seeing.
I'm sure I would. I haven't refused to see it, but it's a movie that everyone already assumes everyone has seen, so I'm just never in a circumstance. Like, it never occurs to me to be like, I should watch Back to the Future now.
Yeah.
Like, I would never think of that.
I can loan you the Blu-rays.
Oh, I would watch
that's
that.
I was
Cool.
given them from Universal when we made that Back to the Future game.
Oh, nice.
Oh, good.
I would, yeah, if you gave me the Blu-rays, I'd watch them, because I bet those are the kind of movies that aren't on Netflix for some reason, because they're like valued properties or something.
Right.
Like how Jurassic Park probably isn't.
I actually remember the details of the Back to the Future ride, which was at Universal Studios Florida before it was taken over by the Simpsons ride.
Notable Orlando
a couple of years
area
ago.
theme park.
But I actually remember
Knowledge.
the details of that better than the actual movies. I've seen all the movies when I was like, 5, but when I was very young. This is pre-Donkey Kong for me. So
Pre-Donkey Kong. In the
BC.
PDK era.
Yeah. Way back. Anyway, yes.
So, Danielle, I want to hear you talk about Sunless Sea, because apparently everyone wants to hear you talk about Sunless Sea, because I feel like you've been just peppered with requests to talk about that game on the forums and on Twitter and in reader mail. So what the hell is Sunless Sea?
Yeah, what
Sunless
is this
Sea.
game? What is this video game?
Sunless Sea is a delightful game. It you know, I would say, I know there's probably a term for this, and I just don't know what it is, but it's basically the sort of game where you're controlling a ship, but when you're on land, it's almost like the Yogg or something. Like you're actually sort of
cool.
clicking on things, and you're getting
didn't
stat
know this.
boosts and things like that, and you're getting story content, but it's not happening in real time, so to speak.
It's
Like,
happening
you're
just
actually-
whenever you take your turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know what the term for that is.
The stuff when you're on land is also, it's more like UI, like menu based.
It's all UI. Yeah, exactly. It's
Okay.
all menu based.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a word for it, but I just don't know it. Or there should be a word for this.
That's also a classic like PC game style.
It is,
seems.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, doesn't Sid Meier's Pirates kind of do that? No, it doesn't. God, what game? I don't know what game I'm thinking of.
Brendan Chung's game Flotilla kind of does
Flotilla
that.
does.
Maybe,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
When
yeah.
you're in space, you're just kind of, you like click to go to the next node in space, and then you get like
Yeah.
a choice, and you could do it, and something happens. But then there's battle.
And then when you're in the combat,
battle
it's sort of
Right.
yeah.
Right. And there's combat in this game as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is totally different. It's a different system. So, I mean, I guess you're primarily...
I
in sort of
already
three
want to play this game. You haven't
It's
even.
really good.
Once you were
even
like you're a
expressed
ship, but then there are menus when you dock. It's
you
like,
haven't
oh
even
shit.
expressed a single
Yeah.
opinion about it, and I'm already like, I downloaded it on Steam last
Okay,
night,
good.
optimistically being like, I'll play this before the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's on my computer now.
Okay.
So
So
now
you're ready.
I'm already primed. Unless the next.
Unless
you
you're
know,
like, but it's bad.
Exactly.
Or
if
and
the
it's
next
bad.
4 words out of your mouth are like, this game is dog shit.
I'm really enjoying it, actually.
Yes.
So,
Those are the other 4 words you could say.
Is
that-
dog shit a compound word?
I think of it as one, yeah.
yeah, I kind of do, too.
Okay.
Because you say it so
I
quickly.
think you could say it either way.
Dog
but
shit.
Dog
Goddamn
shit.
dog shit.
Dog
2
shit.
words.
It
4
feels-
words. Goddamn dog shit.
Yeah, you're right.
Then
You
it
could go either
then
way
it just
with
sounds
that.
like word association when you think of it that way.
You said 4 words, then you said this game is dog shit. So I imagine that they were compounding dog shit. Or this game is dog shit.
I was, but then I imagined goddamn dog shit as 4 words, and it,
Dog
But
shit.
it
And then it
feels
just
like
sounds
nobody
really
says
abstract.
it that way. You know, that just feels very much like, I don't know, somebody with a really flat tone might say it that way, but I would never say it that
Right.
way. Goddamn dog shit.
like someone reading a court transcript.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Only boring people. Not one of the good ones. That's not the good way to say it.
Goddamn dog shit.
Maybe.
What was that
Maybe.
snapping?
Oh, that was my beat poetry.
God damn it.
Anyway,
Sunless Sea.
so there's this game called Sunless Sea. Is it the Sunless Sea or is it Sunless Sea?
You know, I'm not
I
positive.
think it is just Sunless Sea.
Maybe, yeah.
You don't like it? I kind of like that.
It's fine.
I
I'll take it.
I mean, the premise is pretty cool. It is sort of like a... okay, it's a little bit steampunk, you know. There's some tropes in there that aren't necessarily the coolest thing in the world, but it takes place in a world where London sunk through the ocean, and somehow everything is like... There's no more sun, naturally. Everything's in the dark, naturally. And so the world has changed in sort
And
of
it's at
weird
sea.
ways. And you're all at sea, and you play a Z captain instead of C captain. There are some things that are like, okay, it's a little,
Well,
you
they have a
know,
really nice mobile version of their website.
nice.
It makes me confident to buy a product from them.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely some, like, kind of dorky tropes that aren't my favorite thing. Like, the spelling of Z instead of C.
Yeah,
that's
Like,
not-
in the
that's not
game,
great.
it's like, okay, you know.
So when you sail around, is that just
Yes.
on a map or is it actually like real time you're controlling a ship?
It's real time. You're controlling the ship. You're
Okay.
actually using WASD, but you're steering with God, W-A, S and D, and you're
That'd
going
be
forward with
WASD.
W. Yep. Sorry, I'm like mentally mapping this in my head.
Do you think anyone's ever written a children's song to teach them WASD? W-A-S-D?
S and D.
I
Like,
wish
that's how you
someone
move
would.
around.
Donkey Kong,
I wish someone would, Chris.
one of the good ones. Yeah. Combat is turn-based. Well, it's actually, well, okay. Sort of a hybrid of turn-based and real-time. It's happening in real-time, but you always have an assortment of moves that you can use, and they all have like a warm-up period, basically.
Okay.
As opposed to a cooldown, it's a warm-up until the attack goes to your enemy. They have the same system sort of coming at you. So it's simple, but, you know, there's an allowance for a certain amount of depth with it. Mm-hmm. I like it. I like the combat. The game is pretty challenging. I've died like 8 times already. You know, I've shipwrecked pretty much always in combat. You can run out of supplies, you can run out of food, you can run out of money, all of these things.
Is there like a campaign, a story, or is it just sort of like a survival situation?
You kind of choose your objective. You can start out as a captain who their background is a street urchin or a poet, or, you know, there's a whole bunch of sort of backstories. And then you can choose what your ambition in life is. It can be to have the most adventures, to be able to tell the most story, or to have the most money. There's several sort of circumstances, is what the game calls them, that are basically your end goals. Like you can choose that. And there's quite a bit of variety. I was able to play as a lady who likes other ladies, which I enjoyed. Like you can find romance in some of the towns and things like that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You can be a non-binary person or a non-gender specified person. Which is pretty cool too. You can
be a nun.
No.
Fucking
maybe you can be a defrocked priest, I believe.
Wow.
But not a nun. I don't think
Can you sort of indicate why your character was defrocked?
I'm actually not sure because I've not played that scenario yet. I really like being a sea urchin, and obviously they all come with their own stat boost. Like you'll be easier. You can hide more easily if you're a street urchin, and you have more ability with the natural sciences if you were, you know, a natural philosopher, things like that. You know, it's a game of stats, but it's in a really pretty wrapper. And the story content is really fun. So cool. I'm really having a lot of fun with it.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And that's Sunless Sea. Nice. I'll probably keep playing it. I've only played, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours-ish of it. Okay. But I feel like I've had a...
Gives you an idea.
Yeah.
What is the dumbest or weirdest or best thing that has happened inside of Sunless Sea?
I was transporting a bunch of zombie people to a zombie town. It's not a zombie town. I don't know exactly what the hell.
Is this like a steampunk leper analogy? Like
what? A little bit, yeah. They're people who are undead, but they want to die, so they want to be taken to a place where they can fully die.
Okay.
And one of them woke up and ate an entire cheese wheel on my ship.
Okay, good.
Is that because of what happened in the story, or what does that mean?
Apparently, like, there's some stat, like, there's some percentage chance that they could wake up and eat one of your supplies or do something with one of your crew members,
and so it's
or
just
something like
random,
that.
So someone just randomly woke up and ate a cheese wheel?
A cheese wheel.
That's the best.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what I like.
It's that kind of game. You know,
Okay,
random shit happens all the time. And
yeah, good.
Yeah. I would highly recommend it for those
sounds good.
who enjoy a goofy adventure.
Sounds like we'll tick that off on the old Steam curation list.
I think that's a good idea.
Are you listening, developers of Sunless Sea? I mean, that's what it's called, yeah?
Yes. Oh, by the way, I found out that person's name who made the Donkey Kong Doom, just so I can properly attribute them. It's DooMero. That's their...
DooMero?
Doom,
Is that a John Romero reference?
I think it is.
Nice.
DOMERO?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like Doom marrow, like bone marrow.
No.
It's like Doom marrow, like John Romero.
Sadly, I thought of John Romero before I thought of bone marrow.
I mean, I think that's the idea. Yeah, I think that's the idea.
Maybe it's Doom marrow like Brenda Romero.
I mean, it could be, although she was not Brenda Romero at the time Doom was made.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it could be.
I mean, also Donkey Kong Country.
Also,
good point.
Also, Donkey Kong.
Brenda Romero made Donkey Kong Country. Little known fact.
True. Good, yes.
I mean, she was really the one behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Behind every good ape. I don't know. I'm sorry. Yep.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess.
Are you calling John Romero or Donkey Kong Country?
I was gonna be calling Donkey Kong Country the ape there, or Donkey Kong the ape.
Oh.
You know.
Gang Beasts.
Oh yeah.
Yes, please talk about this other game.
Gang Beasts.
Jake and I played Gang Beasts, which is a
game.
It's a game. It's a fighting. It's sort of a very physics-driven. I guess you'd call it a fighting game, right? It's a fighting game.
It's like a brawler,
It's
It's like a weird, like a wrestling move simulator.
It's a 3D game, that is played between 2 and 8 people. You could just choose how many people are going to be in it. We only had 2 controllers, so we just did it with the 2 of us.
It feels very much like it's coming out of the sort of modern indie renaissance of same screen versus multiplayer stuff,
but
except
totally
that it's 3D and physics and fucking nuts.
Right. So unlike all those games, all those games, which include things like Nidhogg and Samurai Gun and stuff like that. Towerfall. Most of them are super precise. You know, like things come down to these incredibly like narrow margins. And then also there are the works of Bennett Foddy, who made Pole Riders and Quap and things like that. And this game feels like much closer to a 3D version of a Bennett Foddy game, where
it feels like if Bennett Foddy was drunk.
What?
Or the controls at least kind of feel
his
like that.
games already feel like that. Well, Quap does anyway.
Pole Riders feels like it has a secret amount of precision to it. Like there's I mean, Gang
That's
Beasts,
true.
Gang Beasts
That's true.
could
Pole
have
Riders
this.
you can play. Yeah, that's
like
true.
it's hard to know. Like because we played Gang
3D
Beasts
games inherently are less precise like
floppier.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
This game, okay, so a game I've actually brought up, I don't know, I would say a couple times in the last several months of Thumbs for various reasons, is Minotaur China Shop, a game we first talked about years ago on this podcast, where you control this big hulking Minotaur, you know, around a China shop, of course, and it's also very physics driven. And so you use the analog stick or WASD to move around, but, you know, it's affected by this momentum that your body carries, and like everything you do is not about very precise keyframe animation. It's about kind of physics impulses driving your limbs, and that's what Gang Beasts feels like. You know, everything feels very mushy because you're like 2 degrees away from the thing you're trying to do, because what you're trying to do is like grab this guy, but then the thing you're pressing is just kind of like arm goes out and grab. And so, oh crap, I accidentally grabbed the door because that's what I was next to. Yeah. Then the guy grabbed me, and then he pulled me, but now I'm like half grabbing him.
You're holding the door and holding the door.
Like
sometimes, when this game is at its best, though, is when things like the door just swings open, and then that causes
you to fly
off that, and then accidentally get the upper hand and hurl the other guy off a cliff.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't quite know how that happened.
So, like Smash Brothers, the goal of the game is to hurl other players out of the kind of playable area. And if you do that, they will lose a life. And if you're with two players, that just means if they fall off and you don't, you win the round. But with more than 2 players, it means whoever is the last one standing in that round wins the, you know.
The implication from the menu is that there will be additional modes.
Right, yeah.
But you can't, there's nothing other than elimination that we could get. It's an early access game. So it feels reasonably early. But actually, the thing that you were mentioning about Minotaur China Shop, that's actually that entire family of stuff. All of those games that were on Blurst, was that Flashbang Studios that made that?
Oh, God.
Because they made Off-Road Velociraptor Safari, and they made Time Donkey and Minotaur China Shop. This game, if you played any of those games, this game feels entirely at home in that realm of sort of weirdly physics-based, just insane stuff, but it's entirely about multiplayer brawling.
Right.
I keep thinking about Octodad in this as well.
It also has some Octodad going on because of the weird sort of physics limb stuff, like the weird
latching on to things.
Weird IK latch-on stuff. Yeah.
Looks pretty fun.
It's cool and wacky. This is a case where I have trouble kind of giving it an unqualified recommendation because it's expensive for the like degree of finished that it feels like to me.
Like I know the Alamo Drafthouse has the Fantastic Festival in Austin that where it's like a film festival and there's an arcade component, and I know Gang Beasts was in Fantastic Fest this last weekend, and apparently it just was like people just lost their mind for it. But that's because I'm sure that's the perfect situation for it, where you can have a bar with a big screen TV, you can have 8 controllers, you can have a bunch of half-drunken people just stumbling over each other to throw weird sort of clayman-looking guys off cliffs and into fire, and meat grinders. Man, the fucking meat grinders
level
part
so
of this thing,
good.
though. Like, also, when I just described that, it sounds like a Binding of Isaac Super Meat Boy thing or something. The aesthetic of this game is incredibly clean.
Yeah.
Like, the characters are all, they look like people in costumes or something, but it's all like untextured, flat color, very simple shapes.
Kind of pastel colors too.
Yeah, like it's all sort of like just it's a very colorful game. Like it's not trying to be grim or gross, but that means when there's a moment of that just like There's a level where you're in a subway station, and it's a perfectly flat shaded, like it looks like a Mirror's Edge test level, but you can throw a guy onto a tracks, and then a subway goes by, and there's no blood or anything. They just go, they're just off the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the most notable one of these was a level that it had these grinders, because they look like a thing that you'd go in and just go, and they're gone. But what actually happens is your character slowly, through physics, gets pulled into it, and you can kind of jump out and escape. But if you sort of get rolled in and accidentally go limp, you just sort of, like, over 20 seconds, just get, like, or like 10 seconds, 5 seconds.
Yeah, and the great thing about that is it means, so most of the time, you grab the other player, and if you can kind of manage to finagle them over the edge, what you want to do is drop them off and then not also hurl yourself off, because then you'll both lose a life.
This is a problem in Smash Brothers if you play as Donkey Kong, for instance.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
But the DK sacrifice move also comes into play here, of holding someone and jumping off to your death.
It doesn't. If
you're one life up on them and you want to end the round.
Yeah, if you're up, that totally works. But in the meat grinder level, it's great because it's this kind of horrifyingly slow process to get caught by the meat grinder. So if you can get down there and just kind of push them in, you probably still actually have time to get out before you actually get sucked into the meat grinder. And so it leads to this crazy situations where you both fall in and it's like, oh, fuck, we could both be fucked, or one of us could be totally screwed, or we're both fine, or. And that we had, I think, at least 2 sort of in meat grinder encounters.
Oh, yeah.
That are both really kind of just guaranteed to be hilarious.
I feel like we ran the meat grinder gamut of like, we're both holding onto each other and neither one of us is going to let go, so we just both slowly die in the meat grinder together. But the ultimate one was when you somehow threw me head first into it, and I couldn't stand up by the time and then my face was consumed, and that was the end.
It was...
Yeah. Anyway, the 2 best levels in it are one inside of a factory where there's just a big incinerator in the middle of it and a conveyor belt dropping boxes in, and the other factory that has meat grinder in it. There was another level that had a propeller in it that seemed that you could float or it would pull all of the world into it, but we couldn't figure out how it worked. It's very Smash Brothers-y in that regard, though, that levels, like, there are some very plain levels, there are some levels that have obstacles, and then within the levels that have obstacles, some of them end up being really compelling and fun, and some of them are kind of annoying.
Right.
But, it is tough because it's right now $20, which is like...
It feels like if you're going to be in a situation where you frequently have groups of people at your house, this could be a thing to do. But it's hard for me to imagine... Like, I'm never going to play this on my own because it's a multiplayer game.
I could see, if you run a game night that also has video game components, if you work in an office with a lot of people who play video games, if you and your friends actually play same-screen multiplayer games. But if you're just going to be at home and maybe have a friend over once or twice to play a game, I don't know if it would hold up.
Yeah. I mean, it might by the time they add more stuff to it. It's just hard to know right now.
Yeah, like, the core of it actually, like, we went, like, our sort of engagement wave was a little bit intense, where it was sort of like, oh, this is fine, and then we're like, oh shit, like
you get super into
it's capable of bringing out moments that are completely just like they emerge,
but then it leveled
this.
out a bit once we realized we'd seen every level, and we're like, oh, okay,
but then I mean, we still did we get back around to the meat grinder a second time? No, every level had a few like spikes of surprise, either from the level or just from play, but like it was not quite clear enough to understand what was happening all the time, and also there's just some flat spots. But it's cool. I don't know. I think in the right circumstance, this game would just kill. Like, obviously, it's intended to be played with 8 players, and we only played with 2. But anyway, gang beasts.
Gang beasts.
You guys want to do some reader mail?
I do the most. It's all that I want.
Oh wow.
I mean, you know.
Reader mail. Reader mail.
All right, here is a reader mail.
Oh.
Brian Gartner says, Japanese gaming. Thumbs. I've fallen way behind on Metal Thumbs. This is a response to something that was on episode 157 more than 3 months ago. About an hour into the episode, a reader from C wrote asking about, is that the airport code for Seattle? Is that what he means?
SEA, all caps? Yeah.
I mean, I know that it is that, but I don't know. Yeah. I guess that's what he means. About an hour into the episode, a reader from SEA wrote asking about Japanese games and why they aren't often talked about on Idle Thumbs. One of the responses was that Japan doesn't seem to have as much of an indie scene. I'm not aware of tons of indie Japanese games, but one that I think stands out is La Mulana. It was originally created as a free PC game, apparently a labor of love in the style of MSX games. If you haven't heard of La Mulana, the elevator pitch would be something like, It's the Dark Souls of Metroidvania games with a heap of genuine puzzle solving thrown on top. The freeware release was enough of a cult hit that a small team was able to remake it with somewhat more modern graphics, and it was released on WiiWare. Finally, the updated version was re-released on PC, which is where I played it. I highly recommend it. You can often find it on GOG, Steam, or Desura at deep discount. It's 80% off on Steam right now. This is no longer current, I'm sure. I think it's well worth the full price of $15. If you try it, make sure to keep a notebook or text editor nearby, and maybe take this advice. Oh, and then he links to a Steam community page with tips for beginners, spoiler-free.
Nice. I've heard of that game, certainly.
Brian Gardner. P.S. Back on the Ruination cast, I mentioned the Sega Genesis game Warrior of Rome 2, which I feel was way ahead of its time. It holds a special place in my heart for being a split-screen, grid-based RTS from 1992. All of your units are recruited as identical starting units, but they slowly become more effective at whatever it is you have them do, whether it's building buildings, running quickly across the map, fighting, sailing, etc. It looks a little rough now, but it was amazing at the time. I think it might be fun for people to stream over a weekend. Brian. That's cool. Sounds wacky.
Yep.
Sounds pretty
Cool.
fun. I play a decent number of Japanese games. I just haven't in the last,
Right.
however, since I've been on the podcast. But this winter I played like 4 JRPGs in a row.
Oh, wow.
It was
Any
intense. Bravely Default was pretty good.
I think you talked about that on the cast.
I may have,
standouts?
yeah.
Yeah, I think you did,
Yeah.
actually.
That was good.
Mhm.
I enjoyed that. That was a standout.
Delicious Toast writes,
Hi,
Hi.
Toast.
That's a really cool name.
Hi,
So-
Chris, Jake, Sean, Nick, and Danielle. This is another old male.
Delicious Toast is, in fact, a Tasty Biscuit competitor.
We're so behind on mail. This is also from August.
Tasty Biscuit. I'm thinking of Total Biscuit. Tasty Biscuit. Snappy Gamer.
Your talk of Zabulba reminded me of another Doom-style FPS I played recently, Gun Gods. It's made by Vlambeer, originally for the Venus Patrol Kickstarter, and is now available as a free download. What led me to it at first was their full Venusian soundtrack, i.e. Soundtrack from Venus, by Kozilek of Loose Rousers and Maverick Bird fame, with rapping done by Dose One, who also did the music for Samurai Gun. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on these recent Doom-style games, especially if you think a full-length game could come out of this sort of thing. And if so, what might need to change in the style or formula to keep the game interesting? Thanks for the podcast. Keep up the good work, Arthur. Well, clearly, the coolest Doom-style game is Donkey Kong Doom.
Donkey Kong Country Doom.
If that person had made Donkey Kong Country Doom inside of the Super Nintendo
Oh
port of
my
Doom,
god.
it would have run at 2 frames a second and be bad.
That's probably true.
Well, when you started talking about it, I thought it was the exact opposite thing you were saying. I thought it was like a version of Donkey Kong Country that had Doom sprites.
I
was
see.
really confused.
Oh,
it's way
wow.
better than that.
Yeah,
it
it's so
is-
much
it is
more
better
fun.
than that,
Yeah, that would have been an intense experience.
yeah. Yes.
I mean, Zabulba seemed kind of perfect for what it was. Perfect length for what it was. You know,
Yes.
God, I think
Although
it took me maybe 2
I could
hours.
I could be wrong, but I get the feeling this reader is asking, could someone make a game of that type and sell it? Like, come up with a
Sure.
value proposition that makes it worth selling? And
I feel like. Oh,
probably.
sorry, go ahead.
No. You go.
I was going to say the new Wolfenstein was almost kind of a bit like that. I mean, the
But
shooting was
they must be
so-
talking about. They must be
Aesthetically.
talking about aesthetically
Aesthetically,
stuff
I
that's
see.
Doom-like, though, not just
I see, yeah.
not just first-person shooters.
Right.
I would think, anyway.
Surely someone could take, like, I mean, I say surely as if it's easy and also as if it would be popular, neither of which are true. But, like, I know all of the stuff that, like, that JP has always talked about and that you've talked about, that he's talked about sort of what's appealing about Doom as far as movement and projectile style and, like, traversal speed, plus just that game's aesthetic, plus, like, basically modern roguelike-like stuff. It seems like you could potentially go down that route. Although I guess, I mean, then you end up sidelining yourself into things like Eldritch and Delver, right? Both of which are sort of, I mean, they're not mechanically like Doom, but they're aesthetically borrowing a lot from those big pixel first-person games.
You saying this actually reminds me of a game that I saw Jeremy Mitchell from Double Fine at reply to JP today called Ziggurat, which is an early access game on Steam that came out about a month ago, and it looks like it's a first-person shooter, but it looks very deliberately old school in its vibe and gameplay. It's a fantasy thing where you have a wand that like shoots out spells, but it shoots out spells effectively at the same rate that you could fire a shotgun or something. And so the character just, it's very classic Doom with like floating enemies and projectiles that you can kind of see in the air as they go and react to and respond to, and a lot of just like strafe shooting and back up while firing at enemies, fighting style fight, that kind of just like very classic.
Ziggurat?
Yeah, it's called Ziggurat. It's on Steam right now. Like here is what it looks like. Let me get you a screenshot. Looks like this.
Okay,
so, just really kind of colorful.
Yep.
Lots of kind of particle effects and crazy things like that. It looks like what it would actually look like if something like Hexen were made now.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Hexen or
like
Doom
it's in a
or something
castle,
like that.
and there's magic.
Exactly.
The same sort
there's
of,
a lot of stonework
idea.
and like kind of dark environments, but then really
With
bright,
really
effects
hilarious lighting and
things like-
effects.
bright lighting and effects.
I'm intrigued now. I want
It says the description is dungeon crawling, first person shooting at its finest, fast paced combat, dozens of perks, spells, and enemies, level ups, random dungeons, traps, badass bosses, carrots. So there's random generation of some kind in here too, which I didn't realize when I was watching this because I watched the trailer today. They mention here this game features a dark fantasy setting inspired in the classic games Heretic and Hexen. So that's
perfect.
Yep.
yeah, it totally makes sense that that's the inspiration.
Wasn't there like a wacky item in that list?
Carrots.
Okay.
That's probably health. It's probably just exists in the game as like a health power up or something. I would imagine, but I don't know.
Because didn't Heretic and Hexen have like a chicken thing?
I can't remember. I
There was
played
some
those
kind of
games so
meat.
long ago.
Yeah.
I
in
feel like
Hexen,
you can
anyway.
also be turned into one.
Okay.
This calls it a combination of FPS shooter, first person shooter, and roguelite. Roguelite seems like a decent, goofy
Instead of roguelike,
portmanteau, for not
what
having
that
to
is.
say roguelike, with what that would sort of imply.
first person shooter, roguelite.
Roguelike, like light.
Yeah.
A roguelite like.
Oh, God.
So anyway, that's an answer to
Cool.
this person's question. Maybe kind of, maybe not directly, but it reminded me of it. Let's see what else is going on here. Zachary Byers, I haven't read this email yet, so I don't know what this person's going to say. Zachary
Fuck
Byers
you.
writes in about Zelda nitpickiness.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
shit.
I always worry when
Fuck.
people write into us about being nitpicky.
Okay, first let me just disclaim that everything I've ever said about Zelda on this podcast, I got wrong. Now let's proceed.
Zachary Byers writes, Dear Thumbs, while listening to last week's episode, Anita mentioned having played A Link Between Worlds recently and having a small beef with the fact that Zelda gave the cool bracelet that lets you be a painting on the wall to the bumbling male protagonist. She said Zelda could have gone and kept the darn thing herself and been awesome, and you launched into a discussion of gender roles in games and movies and such. It was a really good discussion, but there was a key point wrong. Zelda didn't give Link the bracelet, she just had one of the 3 pendant things that one needs to obtain the Master Sword. The bracelet came from the alternate world's would-be hero Ravio, who came to Hyrule because he was scared of being the hero. He foisted the bracelet onto Link, hoping he would get stuff done and save the day. Which also brings a cool thing. In Hyrule, Link gets stuff done while Zelda is kidnapped and such, but in Lorule, Ravio ran away while Princess Hilda was doing her best to fix her land and being generally awesome, though a bit misguided. I just thought that was interesting. Love the podcast. I've had hours of laughs and thoughtfulness from you guys. Keep up the good work, Zach. So I don't really know what any of that means because I didn't play this game.
I mean, I played the first 4-ish hours of it. I guess that's true. I just didn't remember the, minute details of the
Sure.
sort of beginning.
Yeah,
But I think her point still stands.
yeah, the conversation
for
that came out of that was good, but yeah, I forgot about that until after the episode was over. Then went, oh yeah, that's not how that was, but whatever.
And it sounds
Also,
like
that is
sorry, go ahead.
just the thing that he brought up. I thought was actually really nice about that game. That in the Dark World, Link is a big baby, and like the Link equivalent is a big baby, and the Zelda equivalent is the boss who's actually fixing stuff. I thought that was good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, and that like just serves the point. I feel like that Anita was making anyway. So pretty cool.
Timothy Fletcher has another question about sort of that same larger discussion we had. Hi, Thumbs. Thank you so much for having Anita on the show. I'm happy to see she made it out of that mess intact and continues to be a source of thought-provoking discourse. In the last episode, you discussed the trope of the male schlub character taught the necessary talent to become the relatable character in-game and in the narrative, like Edge of Tomorrow. My question is, if the situation were reversed and instead it were an unskilled female character being taught by a skilled male character and then she becomes the hero, couldn't the argument be made that this is depicting a paternalistic relationship showing that only through a male influence is the female made strong enough? I don't say this to be a jerk, but it seems that either way the trope is used, it puts one of the two genders in a weakened position. Love the show. P.S. Cyberpunk Kafkila, Tim. I think this is a sort of a valid point, except that the thing that makes it a trope is that it's used constantly.
Yeah.
Like, if either of those two things were just the plot of like a couple movies or like a couple games, I don't think it would be it wouldn't have enough meaning because it wouldn't imply a universal pattern.
Like I'm trying to think about like movies where that gender relationship exists that he proposed in the email. It is actually not that common, is it? Like, I mean,
the only thing I can think of is like the new Karate Kid,
$1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby.
So apparently, it's when you
Which
train
they
a
had
woman
the same
to fight.
plot, basically. When you train a woman to physically punch other human beings.
Yeah, you need a salty old dude.
Yeah, I feel like it's just very uncommon. I mean, it's not like the worst point in the world. Certainly, like the idea of like, oh, the wise man and the dumb girl. Like,
also, the schlubby dude isn't always trained by a woman. The schlubby dude is also always like,
yeah,
schlubby dude who everyone else puts their life aside for is just already shitty wish fulfillment in all ways, and then it's exacerbated.
The thing that actually makes him, it's not necessarily that there's a skilled woman, although that does happen. But in a lot of cases, it's just that he's the only one who fucking sucks. Like
right.
in a lot of these stories,
right.
It's just that he's the shitty one, but he's shitty because he's relatable. Like he's just a guy. He makes dick jokes, maybe.
But because he's the shitty chosen one, everyone else has to fucking just do their
it's
Kung Fu
really
Panda.
Pure Kung Fu Panda.
Is that what happens in that movie? I never saw that.
Kung Fu Panda. Like Jack Black plays the Kung Fu Panda, who is just this kind of schlubby panda who like works in a noodle shop, but then he ends up like landing up in the dojo full of literally all the best fighters in the entire world. For some reason, I don't remember why. It's like a right place. It's like wrong place at the wrong time, right place at the right time situation. Where he is also pseudo chosen. Maybe
sort of.
he shows he's got something that other people lack, like a little spark, and then they train him up and make him the cool guy that wins.
There is a kind of thread that I don't really like in a lot of modern, I would say especially 3D animated movies for children. Pixar movies often have this, and I don't like it. Cars is like this, and I think it's garbage. Which is this sensation that this sense that like just because you want the thing, that'll make you better than everyone, and like you're actually secretly great, and like there might be these other people who've been actually working hard their whole lives to get something, but they're probably assholes. And if you're just the one who is like just wants the thing, even if you started out as a total jerk, like you'll get it. You deserved it the whole time,
man. But the flip side of that is Brad Bird Pixar movies, which are just.
That's true.
It's weirdly Randian, where it's just like, you are a great person, therefore everyone else is fucking...
to rule.
Yeah, Jesus. Where it's just like, you are the great chef, no one else can become one. Or like, you're a superhero, fucking everyone else can just deal with it.
Yep. It's true.
Why award anything else? It is clearly mediocrity.
Well, I think the thing that is like a bummer about both of them is that there's both.
Well, the default message is you are awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You're either awesome because you're fucking born awesome, or you're awesome because you're destined to be awesome. And you just need to care, and then you can beat all the other people.
Right.
It's magic.
But they both have a lot to do with just like being better than other people instead of just being like a good person.
The place that collides the most, and man, we're getting into old person zone here, is in all modern YA movie adaptations.
Oh yeah, totally.
Where it's like,
yes.
Millennials like their heroes chosen and their world's dystopian, apparently.
They like it's everything to be shitty, but for one person to be rad.
You can rise up because that's what they fucking believe or whatever. I mean, the ones that are like the ones that end up actually leading the pack ahead of these things, like I feel like The Hunger Games is like the one that then everyone else did a million ripoffs of.
Yeah.
It generally does things to dodge that in smart ways, but by and large, it's still like, oh man, I don't know, like the 800 million of those movies that are out right now make me feel old because I know nothing about any of the books, and also make me feel old because they all look the same. Mm-hmm. But it also, it has that same problem to me of just like, it's like it's the same problem that also exists in a lot of really questionable, like at least like live journal era fanfic, and I imagine still exists now, where it's like, in this world full of either like mundane repressed people or incredibly magical people, one random boy, boop-a-doop-a-doop. Why? That's who you're going to be reading as because he's the cool one, or like, I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I just saw The Maze Runner this last weekend, and it was...
Man, we're an old people hour now. I love it.
Yeah, no, I know. It's kind of fascinating. I just feel like with what you were saying, I almost feel like the Hunger Games, it's better for myriad reasons, but I almost feel like because it's starring like a young woman, it's actually like slightly subversive in that way. Like
Which, Hunger Games?
Hunger Games. Yeah, in that like the hero is like a woman as opposed to like, the boy who was chosen.
There's a lot of good things about Hunger Games, especially the first book and some of the second one. I just like that book is all written from inside the head of the main character.
Of a 16-year-old girl.
And she just gets stuff wrong all the time and misreads people's intentions. And when you're reading it, you get upset with the story, but then moments punch through when you realize, it's not actually the fault of how this is structured. That's actually deliberate, and we're inside of the brain of someone who assumes that someone is being rude or plotting against her or being unhelpful when actually she just
doesn't. That's what a teen does.
She just
that's
doesn't get what's happening.
Yeah.
And like that all kind of shits on itself in the third one, but whatever.
Yeah, I've heard such things.
I've read them. I watched them.
I have not read the books, but I do enjoy the movies a lot.
I haven't seen or read either of them.
That's fine. They're the Back to the Future of the modern era. That's what I would say.
Seems
in terms
fine.
of quality, I would not debate that, actually. I feel like they're right around the same quality level.
Is really good. Also, as far as the impact that those movies are going to have on people's lives who watch them, they're probably going to get carried ahead the way Back to the Future does.
I'm pretty happy about that, actually.
And they're not even about a white kid who invents rock and roll music.
Exactly. They're about a girl with a bow and arrow.
Yep.
Which is cool. Which is exactly how my dad described that movie.
The bow and arrow is the weapon that all women protagonists of the 2010s need to have.
And women Nerf users.
Exactly.
Oh yeah? Is that
deep
true?
cut from last week, right?
Well, doesn't Nerf has this
somebody wrote in.
Rebel
Right. Somebody wrote in
where,
or somebody was...
It's all pink bows.
Oh man.
It's pink and yellow bows. And that's like directly a Hunger Games thing. It has to be.
Because there was Hunger Games, Brave, and Tomb Raider all came out.
Yes.
Like in a big circle. I think Giant Bomb went insane about being the year of the bow, but it was also just the year of strong women heroes, which means they all are archers.
They're all archers. I don't know what that is. I'm not like opposed to that idea, but it's
a thing in fantasy for fucking forever. Like when you see when a video game markets itself as like a party-based fantasy game,
it's because
there's always like a woman with a bow and like a woman
It's because it's
mage.
brutal, but it's also like very elaborate and precise. It's like a learned thing. Like it's like a woman with a harp, basically. I feel like it's like why is that the instrument that women play in fantastical settings?
Right.
Why don't they just play a fucking saxophone or whatever? You know, like
that's a good point.
Indeed, why not?
and actually adding to that, why don't they do that? Fucking saxophone?
Why don't women play a fucking saxophone in fantastical settings? Jake Rodkin.
Whatever.
It was also the same time.
I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, so did Kirk Hamilton and Nick Breckon.
Actually, that's definitely true. In Game of Thrones, the woman that was Jon Snow's girlfriend is also an archer. So like it's like it's just adding and layer and
a Grammy-winning
saga.
saxophonist, fucking baritone.
She really kills them with her smooth jazz.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
She slays them with her bow, but she kills them on a sax.
Oh, the sax.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. That was my saxophone impression. I hope you guys like it.
Doesn't seem like you're a strong lady protagonist with a saxophone.
With no saxophone, what am I to do? I would
probably
rather have
take
a
up the bow and
staff.
arrow.
Find like a weathered old blues man to show you how to...
Exactly. He imparts his paternalistic skill.
Yeah.
Actually, wait till a dude shows up who wants to play the saxophone, then you have to be like, fine, and you learn how to play the sax really well so you can then teach him how to play the saxophone.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I would really like to see, on this note, tangentially, I would really like to see more women, like, melee warriors, like women who are, like, sort of the Amazon stereotype as opposed to the, like, archer stereotype.
Right.
Not that we never have any of those, and believe it or not, Dragon's Crown actually had this.
You're not going to see a lot of that because a woman who's an archer is still graceful, whereas a woman who's an Amazon is threatening.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
It's unfortunate. See, I'd rather play as the threatening character. If I'm beating people up, if I'm causing death.
Could you choose in Diablo 3, you could choose either sex for each class, right?
That's cool. I
didn't play very much Diablo 3 because it just didn't really land with me, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
I always thought that the wizard was just a woman.
You're thinking of the sorceress in Diablo 2.
No, I'm thinking of the motherfucking wizard.
Really? Here's how we prove we literally know nothing about video games. This is finally...
You wrote a song about the wizard in
It's true.
Diablo 3. Because that was the announcement.
That
The
was the
wizard was
wizard.
about how it's not a sorcerer, it's just the wizard.
That has nothing to do with gender.
It was
That's a good point.
the wizard was introduced as a woman character, though.
Well, that was the.
kinda
I think
cool.
for each class they chose that like this is
Oh,
the one
one
with the marketing
representative,
assets,
yeah.
but like
Okay.
in the game itself, you can.
I just
can
assumed that the
choose.
wizard was always a woman in Diablo because you wrote a song about the wizard, about that rebellious foe, the wizard.
No.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm
no.
into it.
Yeah, in Diablo 3 you can choose any gender. God, I thought I was going crazy. No, it's definitely how it was. I played that game for hours. I just didn't like it. Although, you know what? It's funny. Actually, I heard that when they brought that game to console, they brought it to
People
PS.
are going apeshit over console
people love
Diablo
it.
3.
Yeah. So maybe I should try
My
It's
that.
that
girlfriend's playing a
lowered
lot of
camera.
it right now. Actually,
They-
she's super into
Oh, yeah?
it. Yeah.
I was really confused because I saw like some videos and some assets of it, and I had no idea what it was because I associate Diablo so strongly with that camera angle.
Oh, yeah.
But in the console version, it's brought way in. It's brought down to like a console angle. That seems like that's such a fundamental change to how Diablo works.
Well, I think that's probably good if you're going to take a game to a system that it wasn't originally designed for, because
Oh yeah, no. It seems like it's. I mean, it seems like whatever they did, they made the right choice.
yeah,
Because people are losing
People
their
are loving
goddamn
it,
minds
yeah.
over Diablo 3 console edition.
yeah.
It's good that Blizzard is just making infinite money off of everything else, given that they canceled that MMO.
I know.
Oh,
7 years
yep.
in.
What a
seems like-
shitty situation it would be to be on that team. That's a story you will never hear about ever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
Man.
Titan.
the Titan Falls.
Oh.
You got the fart noise out of me. Is this the last reader mail
Oof.
ever sent?
I mean, I guess we could keep going.
Sure.
It's your day, Chris.
Looks like Activision stock lost 2% today in the wake of that news.
Whoa.
All those people were holding out for Titan. All those people were holding out for MMOs to be a thing you can
I know. Right?
launch a new one of and make money.
Let's see here. Sorry, I didn't actually have enough stuff queued up.
That's
Oh,
okay.
I didn't know.
That was the one cool thing about Dragon's Crown. They had a woman Amazon warrior.
Mm.
Although her butt was bigger than, like it stuck out at a really strange angle and it was gross. But
That's
at
what I
least
heard.
you could,
Yeah.
play as a, kind of a brawler.
God, someone has an incredibly long deep dive into Harry Potter about Neville Longbottom versus Han Solo. I don't know.
Oh,
if they-
God.
Oh man, I don't know if we should get into that.
Yeah, that seems
It's
like
tempting
it might
though.
Be too,
It is
too much
tempting.
right now.
I'm permanently obsessed with my own stupid pitch from last week. I
Oh.
got to stop thinking about it.
No, I am obsessed with that too.
I know.
I want that to happen.
I don't care if
Like,
it's
badly.
literally that, but just like it was like thinking about that stupid Zelda idea that popped into my head made me realize that until that moment I had been thinking about the fact that Zelda would only work if Link was Link. And then I was like, no, obviously you could make a game where the whole point is that, but that has nothing to do with the point, and it's just actually about the circumstances that you're given and like
Yeah.
relationships that you have, and it would be really good.
It would be so good.
Because like I read people on the Idle Thumbs forum started talking about that, and they started going off into like, oh, maybe it's interesting if you're the kid who's not chosen, and it's like that's fine, but just making a game where you play as Link and who Link is slightly variable, but you keep inside of the story the path that was not your path,
Yes.
so you can just see it a little bit, but you would still have sort of like these common experiences with this other person, and they could sort of be the mirror to your life, which is another weird Zelda theme.
It would add so much.
It would be cool.
Yeah.
And I feel
God, it would
dumb
be
for
cool.
being obsessed with it.
No, I'm obsessed with it.
It's just
too.
like Neville Longbottom, like that guy's email probably doesn't say.
Mike Reeds writes about a request. In the future, when you talk about a specific game for an extended period, could you repeat the game title when you switch topics? If I zone out and miss the game title, it's a pain to rewind to figure out what it was. On that note, what is that 10-person card game you guys talked about in the last podcast?
That is called 2 Rooms and a Boom. Also, discussed this episode. Man, we're never going to remember to do this, but we should. At the end of the episode, we should just be like, so we talked about the new Steam update. We talked about Donkey Kong Doom, Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, Sunless Sea, and Gang Beasts.
Yes.
Also, I'm not going to read any one specific email here, but we got several emails and tweets from people telling us that the Pac-Man game that Anita brought up last week, which was called what? Pac-Man
Pac-Man Battle Royale.
Pac-Man Battle Royale. They actually have machines for that in like 4 different bars in San Francisco.
What?
Yeah, we kept getting different emails with people calling out like one of these places, being like, "Didn't you know in San Francisco they have one at this place?" But then we got like 4 to 6 of those.
That's awesome.
So we should probably go to one and play it.
Oh, that
Field
reminds
trip.
We didn't talk about. I think it's just called Killer Queen or Killer Queens. It's a huge arcade cabinet. It's like an indie arcade game. I think it's 5 versus 5. It was at XOXO, and we didn't talk about it very much. It's worth looking up if you're interested in weird arcade experiences. There's a couple cabinets of it on the East Coast, but the one that they brought to XOXO is now at the Ground Control Arcade in Portland.
Oh, cool.
I can't say a whole lot because it's one of those things that you just never get a chance to play. But if for some reason you live in Portland or the Northwest, for some reason, it's there now, and it's pretty cool.
Killer Queens?
Queens? Probably, yeah. I don't know.
Nice.
Games.
All right.
Cool. 2 points of housekeeping before we go this week. 1, the Overstock and Unclaimed Idle Thumbs music EPs are now in the store. So if you really wanted to get one of those Music of the Thumbs vinyl records, it's 4 songs. It's the theme song from episodes 100 to 150, The Fanboy's Lament, The Wizard, and Space Asshole, all performed by Chris just for this album, pressed on vinyl. There's a few left in the store. You can get them now. And also, as we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we have started a Steam curation page. So check that out by just Google Idle Thumbs Steam curation to link you to it. Or our Dishonored Steam curation page. Just search for Idle Thumbs Dishonored Steam curation. So check that out.
Also, if you want to buy the Music of the Thumbs without getting it on a vinyl, you can do that at idlethumbs.bandcamp.com.
Yes. So yeah, check out our EP or our MP3s. Check out our curation page. Also, if you'd like us to feature a game, $2 billion.
Let's say 2.5.
$2.5 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. If it's good enough for Notch, it's good enough for Idle Thumbs.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. I was going to say we'd feature Minecraft, but that's not on Steam.
That's already been spoken for.
That's true. That's coming up on the Xbox One curation system,
Oh, God.
which is
most
just
likely.
30 sales guys in a room.
Yeah, basically. That wasn't very on Blade.
Oh, God. Fucking... Are we done? Is this podcast over now?
It's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blades.
Cool.
I'm
No,
going to
we-
go home and play Sunless Sea because it's really good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and sleep because that's pretty fucking sick.
Yeah.
Go open this door because I'm melting and dead.
Yeah.
This is my old pop screen that Sean has usurped, and is way better than the one that I inherited from him. That shit ass busted ass,
Pooched.
fucking pooched ass pop screen.
Pooched piece of shit. This piece of shit's gonna bring you
Pooched trash. Look at this thing. It's pooched. It's no good. This guy's trying to give us a pooched pop screen.
Oh, do we have any sponsorships? I mean, I assume we do.
Oh, do we have any sponsorships? I don't know who they are, actually.
Oh, I better check those levels.
This episode is brought to you by
Pooch.
Mr. Pooch.
Pooch your pop screen right now.
Pop screens.
Pooch it right up.
Mr. Pop Screens is my father. Call me Pooched.